This week on the original Rochester Press Box.
I'm Dan Moriarty. I hope you're watching these great MLB playoffs. That is, if you can find it.
I'm John DiTullio. I'm watching one team that is one of the elite franchises in all professional sports.
And I'm Mike Catalana. I'm rooting for Derek Jeter to fail.
I'm Bill Pucko, complaining about the pace of baseball 130 years ago. Join us in the original Rochester Press Box this week. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, joined as always by John DiTullio, who's now our picks leader by 2 full games, beating the spread 6 out of 10 times.
I'm not even keeping track, Billy.
No, we are.
But I know I took the Giants last week, Bucko. I feel good about my pick this week, too.
All righty. Mike Catalana rejoins us. Mike, welcome back. We missed you.
Sorry, I went all DiTullio last week and missed, but I'm glad I'm back.
What is that?
Taking shots at
Oh,
John.
because it's like 2 years ago, I missed like 3 shows in a row because I had stuff. I actually had stuff going
Dan
on.
Moriarty, what do you got to say to John?
Well, he's full of it on the whole picks thing. He's pretending to be humble. We know he's not humble, though.
I am
Also of WHTK. This is
I didn't even know we do a pick segment anyway.
Well, you're doing awfully well.
I think.
The Pagulas have become officially the ownership group of the Buffalo Bills. I'm stealing this from you guys. You were talking about this on WHTK this week. In terms of order of business, what needs fixing in the Buffalo Bills organization that the Pagulas you think should address first?
I think one of the tough things for them to do is going to be patient, because we saw it with the Sabres. They got killed for doing that, keeping the regime the same, keeping the head coach the same, keeping the GM the same, and it backfired on them. I think right now, Buffalo's got the best roster they've had in 10 years. Doug Whaley's done a good job putting the team together. Now, they obviously misfired on the quarterback, which is important. But the coach is only in his second year. The GM's done a good job so far. I think, as of right now, stay patient. As hard as that's going to be to do, especially after what happened with them with the Sabres, I think patience would be big for them.
You got anything you want to see them fix?
No, well, listen, the one thing they're going to have to address would be the stadium issue. When you get owners like Bob McNair and other owners around the league saying, yeah, they need a new stadium. So I think at some point, Kim and Terry Pegula are going to have to address what they plan to do on the stadium. And I think sooner the better, at least the folks of Western New York and the Bills at least want to know what the stadium issue is going to be. But I'm with Danny. Let this thing play out. And 8-8, I think, is the number, or 9-7. I'm trying to figure this out. 8-8, everything stays the same. 7-9, I think you draw a line in the sand. Changes will be made.
Mike?
I think patience is going to be a thing that no one has in the NFL. It's week to week. I mean, a week ago, some people wanted, Tom Brady on the bench, and Belichick's time has passed. I mean, it's week to week in the NFL. So if you're the new owner, you come in. This is the second year. I'm with Dan on this. I think they have put together a good roster. Okay, so it looks like you whiffed on the quarterback. Well, replace him. Greatest move they made, at least initially, looks like bringing Orton in, meaning that now you can win games with E.J. Manuel standing there taking notes on the sidelines like he was on Sunday. So that's fine. I think it will almost play itself out in terms of the coach by the end of the year. Yeah. I think by the end of the year, I think it's going to be pretty obvious that maybe it's just that Doug Marrone deserves to come back for the next year. So does Doug Whaley, and let's see how it plays out.
Can I just throw this out? Because they strike me first and foremost, I think, as decent people. I think the tailgate culture in Buffalo and the fact that Buffalo features the most drunken, rowdy fans in the NFL is something that needs to be addressed.
I think this is all going to play into the whole stadium thing. And as we're taping this, we haven't heard his full news conference, which we believe is going to happen on Friday, and how much he'll address the stadium thing. But I think that will change the culture a lot, too, if they do build a new stadium. And in my mind, this guy's eyes are wide open. John mentions McNair and Kraft and all these other guys who've mentioned a stadium. And Terry Pegula knows that's the culture in the NFL for a new stadium. He owns downtown Buffalo. I think when he does build that new stadium in downtown Buffalo, I do believe the culture of going to a Bills game will change. Now, maybe it'll change sooner. Mm-hmm. They'll push towards that. But I think a new stadium and a new atmosphere will help that.
Danny, you're 20-something. We always joke about that. does it need changing? I mean, you're in
Look at
the
that
tailgate
smile.
culture.
Look at that smile.
Maybe eventually. I think it's tough to do that as one of your first things. So, like Mike said, I think if you move the stadium downtown, first of all, parking lots are going to be totally different. People are going to get to the game different. So I think the tailgate's going to be different, even without addressing it by coming out and saying that we're changing the way that we tailgate here. That's become such a big part of what Bills games are all about. I think that's tough to change right off the bat. I think that's one of those things that, like Mike said, because I think the stadium may end up being downtown, especially with all the things that they've done with the Harbor Center and obviously being owners of the Sabres. So if it does move that direction, with less parking down there, you're not going to be able to have this full tailgate experience that Buffalo Bills fans have in Orchard Park.
Very good. We'll do the Patriots games coming up next. We'll talk about that next. Welcome back. This is the original Rochester Press Box. Bill, John, Mike, and Dan with us. John, since you're the best picker, why don't you lead our discussion on the Bills-Patriots this week?
I feel something's in the air. I feel a win is in store for the Bills. I don't know what it is. Call me crazy. I'm going to ride. I rode the whole Jim Kelly against the dog. I'm going to ride the Bagula wave today. I think Kyle Orton will make just enough plays where they'll be able to sustain drives, and I like the Bills, and I don't even know if it's a shocker because it's for first place. I like the Bills today. I like the way the defense is playing. I really do. Everybody now is off the Patriots. They stink because they look so great on Sunday night against Cincinnati. I think the Bills match up pretty well with New England. I really do. I look at that New England team. I don't see a whole lot of playmakers out there that you got to stay up. I see Julian Edelman, and Gronk is half the player he used to be. I like the Bills today. I think Kyle Orton makes enough plays. Bills win close. Win way. I'll take them 24-21.
You know what's fascinating, Mike, is how the narrative has changed since the Patriots played that bad game on Monday night.
Yeah.
And then the Bills made the quarterback change, and everything else has happened since. It is entirely different than we thought about it before.
Right, because there's overreaction to everything. I mean, the Patriots were horrendous.
Yeah.
And then 6 days later, they've got it all figured out. They weren't as bad as they looked. They weren't as good as they looked. They caught them in that game. The Patriots are what we thought they were, which is, at this point, after these few games, which is a team that's played 4 mediocre to poor games and 1 excellent game so far. Do they have everything fixed? Absolutely not. But they did kind of get a little of that back with that win in that game. There's a gleam, John. Isn't that what
Right? There's a gleam. Marty Schottenheimer, my man.
I think all of that takes place Sunday. I think Orton has given them a lot. I can't pick the Bills to win this game. I just see New England has this thing that they have where they now know that the Bills look like the challenger in the division, and this is where Brady steps up a little bit. I think it's close the whole way through.
Line is 3.
I'm going to take New England to win it. I'll say by 4, so to say they cover. I wanted to say 3. Can I say 3 and play for a push? But I'm going to say 4. I'll say New England wins at 24-20.
Danny?
I'm going with John. I just feel the mojo, the karma, whatever it is in Buffalo with just everything going on. The Bills coming off that big road win, the second surprising road win of the season after Week 1 against the Bears. Patriots did show last week for the first time that they can really attack down the seams again with their tight ends, with Gronkowski and obviously Wright having a big game a week ago. So that's something for the Bills to worry about. If they can get ahead, though, that's how you really beat the Patriots because they're not good at playing from behind. Then your defense can just get after Tom Brady and make him uncomfortable, which is what we saw happen to him on Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going with the Bills 26-24, taking over first place by themselves in the AFC East.
All right, you got a secondary game for us?
Yeah, best team in the AFC right now is the San Diego Chargers. I think they're better than Denver. They've been fantastic so far this year. I'm going with San Diego big over Oakland.
Secondary game, John.
Cardinals at home, bounce back. I got them favored by 3.5 over the Redskins. Short week, traveling out west. I think the Cardinals get back.
Think they're for real?
Cardinals?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, they're winning games with Drew Stanton. Once they get Carson Palmer 100%, that defense is as good as anyone's in the NFC. You got Seattle, San Francisco. And then Arizona's the third best defense in the NFC.
Mike?
Sticking with my theme of what I think, not what I want, since I'm taking New England to beat the Bills, I'm going to take the Giants getting the points against the Eagles on a Sunday night game. Eagles are banged up defensively, have not played well. The Giants have been very solid. I think there's more pressure on the Eagles. It could go the way I would like to see it go, which is the Eagles get everything going offensively. Something is just not right at the moment. And the Giants are playing pretty solid. I think it's a close game. The Giants are getting 2.5 points. I'm going to take the Giants.
You got to respect a guy who will pick against a team he roots for.
Well,
Like that, Mike.
and I really want to see the Bills knock off New England on Sunday, and I hope I'm very wrong. I hope I'm with these guys.
I like the Bills. I like the Jets getting 8 points against the Denver Broncos at home. Our crew is picking the Patriots and taking the Chargers -7 against the Oakland Raiders.
I just got a new era in Buffalo Bills football begins with Terry and Kim Pagula. So that only beating the Patriots twice since when? The year 2001, since Brady became the starter?
Yeah.
At home. I'm talking about at home. I think a new era begins. They haven't won in Foxborough since 2000.
It's a monumental game, too.
It's huge.
You win the game, you're beating New England and Miami, 2-0 in the division, a game up on New England, beating them head-to-head. The repercussions of winning, I guess I would say, are massive for the Bills.
Seismic.
Like
it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, Mike, Jim Schwartz getting carried off the field in Detroit.
I understand how it happened, and in the closed world of the Buffalo Bills, it's kind of cute, and you look at it and you say, isn't that nice? Schwartz had joked about it, and then they decided to do it. It really looks bad, in a way. I mean, you're carrying a coach off the field, an assistant coach, and I know he used to be there. It's an October game, a non-division opponent. If you look at it from the outside, you're like, really, Buffalo? And someone said, act like you've been there before. Well, they haven't really been there in that way. I don't really like it, but, you know, Golden Tate needs to shut up, too. He went a little over the top in criticizing him. I think, in general, it's a bit much.
John?
You know where I stand. I love
just
it.
want to hear
That's
it again.
Stuff, honestly, I don't care. I think it speaks. I understand he has to be carried off, but the fact that his players did it for him, to me, says how much they respect him, how much he's revered in that locker room. And it meant a lot to Schwartz and the players. Let's face it, Schwartz won that game. Thanks to Alex Henry.
Yeah.
But Schwartz's defense was incredible. He should have been carried off for that game for taking a quarterback that he used to coach and made him look like E.J. Manuel. Matthew Stafford, as that game wore on, started to play like E.J. Manuel.
It carried him off the field.
It's all right.
Although the Bills know it looked bad because they released through Adam Kaplan today through sources that what Jim Schwartz actually said is, if we lose the game because of my disappointment, you're going to have to carry me off the field.
A show of hands of people who believe that.
Yeah, nobody's believing that.
Listen, I think it's great. I really do. I love this. I like when just the fact the Bills are doing stuff like this. I support.
Wasn't it great when Favre went to Green Bay and won, and they carried him off the field?
The fact that he went to Minnesota was bad enough. They would have carried him off. He would never be allowed in the state of Wisconsin.
You had to introduce that. All righty. Like it or not, Danny, the fact that the wild cards, the Royals and the Giants, have advanced to the league championship series.
Well, they've played great baseball. I mean, they really seem to get their momentum in those first games. The Giants, obviously, with a blowout win, but the Royals, they won an extra inning, something that they've had to do in their first two in their first 2 postseason games after that. So I think they really got their momentum from that. The Giants obviously had Bumgarner on the mound for their wild card game, but because of their pitching staff stepping up behind them, they were able to move on. So that's something we haven't really seen since the one-game playoff in the wild card has started. But these guys have really gotten the momentum from that game.
God, and they beat clearly superior teams to get there, too.
Yeah, but I think it's sparked interest in baseball more. I mean, the numbers are up. The games have been entertaining. And there have been, like the Cardinals all of a sudden are murderer's row, hitting home runs, which they haven't done all year. But most of these other games there's runs scored, there's entertainment, but it's not all 3-run homer, 3-run homer. I think the brand of baseball, if it could just be played in less than 6.5 hours, I think the brand of baseball is much more entertaining. And I think the Giants scrap out a way, and how can you not root for the Royals? I just think that's a team to root for.
Johnny, related to that, like it or not, the fact that the Dodgers are out.
Well, personally, I'm torn. I like it, but I don't like it because I'm such a Don Mattingly fan. But when you get a payroll, I mean, welcome to Yankeeville. When you spend over $220 million, losing in the LDS is unacceptable, and it may cost Don Mattingly his job. So if you're a Dodger and you're Magic Johnson and you're Guggenheim, this isn't what you paid for. You paid to be playing late into October, so it's disappointing for them. But they lost to a great team in the
Quickly,
Cardinals.
is it the end of an era with the big money teams?
No.
Are these going away at some point?
I think like small ball teams like small money teams like the Red Sox could actually. Sorry.
No, it's not.
And Favre. Red Sox and
As
Favre.
long as teams can generate that kind of revenue, they're going to spend it. They're going to spend it. So, no, I don't think it's going away.
Unfinished business when we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. It is time for Unfinished Business, John.
You know, the overword used in sport, culture. And that word, which I love, by the way, the Bills are trying to establish a culture. They're playing a team today that has a winning culture in the Patriots, which leads me to the San Antonio Spurs, one of the best run organizations in all the sports. You can make a case for the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that I grew up rooting for. Although I'm a Yankee fan, I always had respect for the Cardinals going back 40 years, but in particular now. You know, their highest payroll they've had since last 20 years when the salaries blew up was last year. The highest payroll they had was $115 million. This year it's around $111 million. Homegrown players, 17 of the 25 players on the Cardinals playoff roster are homegrown. 2 losing seasons since 1999. And when October rolls around, they seem to play their best ball. They can play small ball, or, as Mike alluded to, they can play long ball. And that's how they went on to beat the Dodgers. So, am I rooting for the Cardinals to beat the Giants? Perhaps. I just know I'm going to get some great baseball when the Cardinals take the field. I love watching St. Louis play, and it's the best baseball town in the country.
Very good. Danny.
Well, we've had a great postseason so far in Major League Baseball. I'm just worried about whether or not fans are able to consume the product. Baseball last year signed an 8-year contract, TV, with TBS and Fox. Now, not Fox, but Fox Sports 1, this brand new platform that Fox is really trying to kind of pimp up right now so people actually can find it. Problem is, people can't find it, and it's not on regular cable. So I know for me and Toolsy, we're trying to watch some postseason games while we're at work. We don't get the channel. So I'm hoping people are actually getting a chance to see some of these games because I know at least here locally, they can't listen. They're not on radio locally either. So if you're Major League Baseball, people are consuming your product less and less, at least in terms of TV and radio, year and year and year and year. I know people are going to the games, but people are watching and listening less than they've ever listened and watched. And now you're making it even more difficult for them to find if they even have the channel. I know people that are in hotels or people that don't have, in terms of the big-time cable networks, can't even get Major League Baseball playoffs on TV. I think that's disappointing because the playoffs have been as good as I can ever remember.
They really have. I like the fact the first two out of the gate are about baseball. We do still care, Mike.
Well, I'm kind of sticking with baseball here, and I'm rooting for Derek Jeter to fail. Now, Derek Jeter hasn't failed very often at many things, but he had this idea to come up with this website to give athletes this first-person voice, and they use it as unfiltered. And he had Russell Wilson, issue his own unfiltered article where he talked about his life growing up and talked about the fact that he was somewhat of a bully as a kid and how he changed his life and all. And the whole idea behind this is that they don't get that messy filter of anybody asking questions or trying to put it in perspective. Look, have your own website, say what you want, but I'm sorry, Derek, this isn't going to replace anything. And the other part about it is there are filters. These athletes talking are being filtered by their publicists, they're being filtered by their agents, they're being filtered by their teams. They are putting out the message that they want. So go ahead, watch it, go ahead, read it, go ahead and consume it, and get this one little piece. But don't look like that it's the bad guy when someone with a more critical eye takes what you say and puts it in perspective for everybody to read. Derek Jeter hadn't failed too often. I think this one's going to fail big time.
And just a little hypocritical because he wasn't very forthcoming with all these outlets.
And he was worried about, again, what the filter was going to be, how people were going to use it. Derek Jeter could say basically anything he wants, and they would use a lot of it.
Yeah.
But this is the way he's chosen to start his post-playing career.
They always wanted more. One of our producers on this show sent me an article. It was a guy who was complaining about baseball. Everyone's complaining about baseball, that the game is too slow, it's out of touch with the modern person, and people are going to stop watching the game of baseball. The column was written by a guy in 1886. We've been complaining about these same things about baseball for a very long time. Look, the teams that are left don't have any stars. There's no real star power. Those kind of things are going to drive people to the TV sets. You're going to hear about how bad the ratings are and how Thursday night NFL football is beating the baseball playoffs, and it almost certainly will. My advice to you is just tune all that out. Just enjoy the games. Baseball is doing fine. Guys, thanks very much. John, great as always.
Really great show today. Really was.
Mike?
Thanks. He leads in the picks, right? John does?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Picks?
Just making
Wait,
sure.
I didn't even make a pick, did I?
Yeah. 6-4 against the Reds. And Danny, I know you slid down to the fourth seat, so you're playing for a different
Yeah, I don't
team.
feel quite as small this week, though. Last week, sitting next to Roland Williams, I never felt so small in my life.
Yeah, God, Roland Williams is great. And thank you for watching. We'll see you again in the original Rochester Press Box next week.